Whoa, looks like our ship has finally come in. And with these tickets to the Pokemon Trainers Party aboard the St. Anne, we're in for the greatest time of our lives. What could possibly go wrong? Right?
Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is
The Trainer's Guide. Today's episode,
Battle aboard the St. Anne.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Happy
Welcome back.
belated holidays.
Yes, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season, whatever that looked like for you. We spent hours with our family a lot, which was really great.
It's been very busy.
Yes, and restful and busy.
Yeah, and joyful.
Yeah, and we are just finishing up our first 2 conventions of the year.
Yeah, we've been at MegaCon Live in London and in Dublin.
Yeah, so it's been very exciting. It's been great to see all of you guys. I definitely met a couple listeners, which is exciting. And yeah, we're just, I don't know, I'm excited to be back.
Gosh, we're at episode 15 now.
I can't believe it.
I know.
The St. Anne, the episode we've all been waiting for. Now, I wanted to jump on quickly to talk about, well, not talk about because I don't really have any information, but remember in one of the other episodes, and I mentioned the 9-month cruise?
Yes.
Of those people?
Yes.
It's a real thing. And I've been seeing a lot more videos of people who are on it and recording themselves and documenting their experience.
Wow.
Aboard this 9-month cruise.
Well, wouldn't this episode make you not want to go on a cruise?
Well, that's exactly the point. But in the beginning, our trainers are very excited and dreaming about going on a cruise to catch Pokemon. And, by the end of this episode, I'm not sure if they would be so excited.
Well, we shall see.
But the fun thing about this 9-month cruise is that they do go to Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
Which I would go. I want to go to Antarctica, but I don't think I want to do a 9-month cruise to get there.
I started looking into going to Antarctica because there was an eclipse. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out how we could get there for it. And it's very difficult.
Yeah. Because you have to fly to Chile and then you have to take... We would have to fly or take a boat, and it's a 3-day boat trip, I think.
At least there's a lot. I kind of blocked it all out.
I know.
Because we couldn't go.
I still want to do it.
Super duper expensive.
Yeah.
It was a dream.
Well,
I wouldn't say it was shattered, but it's...
No, but it's splintered a little. There's a crack.
Splintered, that's a Ninja Turtle reference. Yes. But anyway.
The funniest thing, though, was we were trying to fit this in. We had 3 days, and you were like, "Let's try to go to Antarctica."
We're dreamers,
yeah,
yes,
and believers in anything.
That's right.
We set our minds to looking into it, and it was a possibility. It just was really expensive.
And we watched the eclipse online.
Yeah,
as we do many star things
in the warmth of our home. But anyway, maybe one day we'll be recording the podcast from an iceberg in Antarctica.
Okay. I'll take that dream and run with it. Okay. I will say, getting back to our episode, the interesting thing in this is that our heroes get free tickets to go on this Pokemon party trainer cruise.
Yeah. So they get tickets by these 2 really radical girls.
Valley girl, schoolgirl types, I think,
hybrid.
Which I love their 90s vibe.
They have the 90s lipstick for sure.
Definitely white.
Pale.
Yes.
Blends in with
and
your
the hair.
Skin color.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The hair. It's so fun. But these 2 girls, wink, wink, offer them tickets to board the St. Anne for a Pokemon party. Mm-hmm. And they go. And we find out that those 2 girls were actually Jesse and James. And it's so fun. I mean, I think that they're really hitting their stride with the fun comedic elements.
And how they work together.
Yeah.
Definitely Jesse is in the lead on this. Totally. And the fact that James just goes, cool.
Cool.
The whole time. I'm not, that is not me
not
trying to be
impression.
James. No, not at all. It is so fun.
But yeah, Jesse's like giving the details and all James does is say cool.
It's great.
It's so fun. And he does ask, he says he thinks he makes a good girl. And I would agree with him.
Totally.
He can do anything.
Then he gets hit on the head.
Yeah.
For
But not because of what he said, but
No.
just because he's wasting their time.
Exactly right.
And
let's get
Jesse's
on with
like,
it.
we
Get out
have
of
to
costume.
go. Right.
Right.
We don't have time to talk about this. But anyway, so fun. And then we kind of cut to Jesse and James and Meowth in their lighthouse
Hideaway.
secret place.
Yes.
And we meet their boss.
This is the first time we've seen the boss.
Yes.
Who is only called Boss.
In this episode.
Mhm.
But I feel like this is where we get into the real villainy of Team Rocket.
Yes.
Because I
Boss.
think his name is Giovanni, but
Right.
we'll call him the boss. The boss has this whole plan to suck up all of the Pokemon from the ship. And his plan, I mean, he bought all the tickets for the trainers to get on the boat.
Right.
And so he obviously has access to a lot more resources than Team Rocket do or Jesse and James do in their,
Normal lives, kind of.
hole digging
Yes. Right, but they do have
treachery.
the vacuum apparatus.
Yeah, they do have access to some
Yes.
technology that is greater than you would think.
Mhm.
But it is interesting. He is much more evil than they are.
Oh, yes.
And it's a little
he has-
scary.
And he has that Persian there
Yes.
that Meowth is pretty jealous
Yeah.
of.
So anyway, I thought it was an interesting. We get a glimpse into their villainous workplace.
Raison d'etre.
Exactly.
Really.
So then we get to the ship, and as Ash says, it's like a giant Pokemon convention, which I thought was
Really funny
Very
for
apt.
1998
yes.
when there weren't a lot of conventions, but there were Star Trek conventions.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
Those had been around for a while. So the idea of a fan convention existed. There were some anime conventions.
mm-hmm. Leave a comment if you can, if you went to any of those early conventions,
Yeah.
Star Trek conventions or Pokemon/anime.
No,
Not
you wouldn't
Pokemon,
have gone
but-
to a Pokemon
Yeah.
one then, but some kind of anime.
Raise
Yeah.
your hand if you wish you could have gone to a Pokemon convention then.
In any country,
Right.
which would have been Japan only.
Right. But it's so fun, and there are lots of things being done there, just like a normal
Oh my
convention.
gosh,
There
yeah.
are people are selling their wares, people are comparing their Charmanders, and they're also battling.
Yes, not
On
on
the
the
ship.
deck, but just
Yeah.
around. People are,
In the ballroom.
yeah, ultimately, it's just what we all do, trading, comparing, talking facts,
Yeah. Which was
getting
so
to know
fun.
friends.
And it was kind of exactly the same, especially at MegaCon Live in Dublin, where they had this whole space just dedicated to people doing dance parties.
Amazing.
And dance battles
Yes.
and things. And it's kind of the same. It really reminded me of the St. Anne, because people were doing basically the same thing there.
Yes,
which
and
was
it was
so fun.
raining, and so it was like the storm
Yes.
that is about to hit the
A
St.
Bruin.
Anne.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we meet this Southern guy who I don't think we actually ever get his name.
No, but I thought he looked like a magician.
He was like a magician,
dapper-
Colonel Sanders.
That's what I was thinking. Colonel Sanders.
New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
magician Colonel Sanders.
Yes, with his glasses and
And didn't he go, he would be like, because he had a eradicate,
yes.
and he would go, a go, or something, right? Wouldn't he? He would be like,
Eradicate.
oh.
Yes.
He was had some kind of a thing before he was like, I choose you. Ah.
He was, yeah, that's true. He's
don't know,
also
he did
really,
something
he
funny.
was very tall and lanky.
Yes.
And everyone
Very
else.
magician-like.
Well, yes, that's true, with the top hat.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the trainers here were younger kind of kids.
Yeah. And then he had this lady kind of with him.
Like a magician's assistant.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm not
she
sure.
was Southern, and it was a little unclear. I don't know. We never got their names, and we never fully knew what they were doing there.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave me some sinister vibes for sure.
Well, because they battle,
Yeah.
Ash battles. He cannot control himself,
Mm-hmm.
and he battles this magician guy.
Yeah.
And
Southern magician.
while they're battling, the magician guy says,
Yeah.
"Oh, you know what? Let's just stop here." Which,
Yeah.
of course, Ash is like, "But I was winning."
Yeah.
You know,
Ash's
so-
Butterfree is about to kind of get the Raticate, and he goes, okay, that's it. This was just a practice round anyway.
Yeah, but I really like your Butterfree, and when we're
Yeah.
friends, and when trainers make friends, they trade.
Yes. And he goes into this whole thing about if trainers become friends, and then friends trade, and then that trade, the friendship grows and the trading continues. And I mean, I got confused just listening to it, but basically he wants Ash to trade, the Butterfree for the Raticate. And Ash does it because he kind of gets swept up.
It's kind of hypnotism.
Yeah. Well, he's a magician, so that makes total sense. And we get our first glimpse into Brock's like girl craziness because the magician's assistant comes up and he's just totally in love with her, and so he's hypnotized himself, and he doesn't really give Ash any words of advice.
That's right. And also at the same time, James is off shopping, and he runs into the Magikarp salesman.
Oh my gosh, which I think is actually Eric Stewart also.
Yes.
He's the Magikarp salesman.
Amazing performance.
Amazing.
But he convinces, also in his own way of kind of hypnotizing, convinces James to buy this Magikarp.
The king of the carp.
That's right. That's so
he
funny.
calls it. Or king of carp or something. But he convinces James to buy this Magikarp because the Magikarp is this fountain of money. Because he's like...
It will become.
Yeah,
yes.
they have all these babies, and the babies are money. And he just, again, goes into this huge rant of basically how many Magikarp James could have.
And the best part is he says, usually I charge $100, but I'm going to throw in all this stuff and only charge you $300.
Yes,
will you take it? And James says, yes.
I know. That's
so
also
excited.
This is my favorite James episode by far because he's everything. He's like, ooh,
everything's so great.
Like even when he's getting kicked by Jesse, he's like, oh,
hilarious.
Obviously, I can't do a very good impression of James either, and I'm not trying to.
No,
but it's so.
This is a
funny.
flavor.
Yeah, it's just giving you a hint.
That's right.
And now you have to go watch it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just giving you something just enough for you to go. I need more.
I definitely need more. This is such a fun episode.
Yeah. But it turns.
It does turn really soon after this, actually.
I know.
After James has purchased the Magikarp, he has regrets.
Yes.
And because he's used his salary, this is the only time we've talked about money, actually. Yeah. And he uses his salary and Jesse's salary. And and also the boss talked about buying tickets. So we have had money here. Anyway, that's just a side note.
Yeah.
But he has regrets.
Something that we're interested in.
We're
writing our essay about. We're doing a case study on
money,
bartering, and the value of money in a Pokemon society.
But most of the time, there is bartering.
Yeah, that's true.
So
and trading, like we saw in this episode.
Okay, I'm really thinking about this essay now, and I've got to focus.
But I mean, that's the thing that both Ash and James experience this kind of regret because they get taken up in the excitement of it all, of the scenario. And Ash later says, the Southern magician guy was just really excited to trade, so I did it. But both of them regret their choice. James because he's realized he's been duped.
Right.
And Ash because he realizes, he and Butterfree have this history together, and he raised Butterfree, and he's worried that the Southern magician won't take care of it as well as he might.
And we do have that really wonderful retrospective
the greatest thing
their time together.
Yeah, the greatest thing is at this point, Team Rocket have invaded the ship, and they're sucking up the Pokemon with their little vacuums.
But there's a many Team Rocket members.
Yes.
Which
is also interesting.
In gray.
Yes.
So they just don't count as much as our main.
Little hats, little chapeaus.
Yes. But our main Team Rocketers are in white always, most of the time.
Exactly.
So anyway,
they're sucking up the Pokemon, and Ash midway through is like, oh, Butterfree.
Right, because then there's so many crazy things in this episode, but when all of the trainers decide they're going to fight back against these vacuum toting Team Rocket wearing villains, then everybody joins in.
Yeah.
But interestingly, when they throw a Pokemon, it doubles, quadruples.
No, it's just so like Ash will say, okay, Spearow, go. And then all the other trainers' Spearows go.
They all join in.
Yeah.
So there's about 10 of the same Pokemon.
Right.
And
They
there's
all decide that they have to work together.
right, Pikachus, Charmanders, Geodudes,
Yeah.
Bulbasaurs, Butterfrees, Pidgeotos. There's so many.
So many.
It's very exciting and beautiful patterns.
And it's fun, yeah, because they do a little cheerleader triangle pyramid thing.
Mhm.
So they hop up on each other and they, shoot their thing.
They work together.
Sound great.
You know so much about Pokemon now, and it's all your technical language. I'm very proud of you. That's- attack. Shoot your thing. This is awesome. We all know what you mean.
I was trying to say they do their attack or whatever.
Well, you
but
could say, okay.
I'm a very visual learner. So for me, it just looks like things are shooting out.
Well, they
But I
almost
think-
stun spore.
I don't think I'm going to
It's sparkling down.
Let's
Let's move
change.
on.
Yeah. But
So-
Ash wants to join the group of Butterfree, and he goes to throw his Butterfree, and Raticate comes out
And just
instead.
pops out.
Right.
There's only one.
Right.
Also.
Yes. Nobody else.
such
Nobody else has Eradicate.
It's terrible. I mean, it's so kind of oddly lumpy rat-like looking in
Yeah.
this instance.
yeah.
And I'm not against them, but in
Right.
this instance,
This
it
podcast
just
is
looks
not anti-rodent.
not at all.
But
Although, as a resident of New York City, I've
We
seen
are.
many,
yeah,
and it looked like a street rat.
Yeah, compared to Butterfree, which is so
I
sparkly and
know.
has its little things and so cute. And then he's like, go, Butterfree. And then this lumpy street rat pops out.
And he decides then,
Yeah.
I need to find Magician Man and trade back.
And the Magician Man does. But meanwhile, all of Team Rocket get defeated pretty easily,
And they
actually.
zoom off like they normally
Yeah.
do.
Except
Tornado
for Jesse
out.
and James.
Mhm.
And Jesse and James are kind of, wallowing out of the ballroom.
Defeated.
And the ship has hit a storm.
Big
So
storm.
it is
Big
rocking and
waves.
rolling. And everybody's a little spooked. And Ash is trading back. And Jesse and James, the Magikarp has escaped. So they're chasing after the Pokeball.
Yes.
And then we find out that the ship is sinking.
The captain is in a lifeboat
Hilarious.
alone and leaving.
People are like, because the captain's saying, not to worry, the ship is unsinkable, blah, blah, blah.
As he's
and
leaving.
then he's in the lifeboat going, I'm just checking, but not to worry.
No.
So people are in the lifeboats. They're running. The ship is rocking. And basically, Ash gets Butterfree back, but loses control of the Pokeball. So Ash, Misty, and Brock go running after Butterfree. Jesse, James, and Meowth are running after the Magikarp, and they
Yeah.
basically get lost. They don't get counted on the lifeboats.
Well, we see them the boat gets rocked and they
Yeah.
all get knocked out.
Right.
And the captain, so wisely out in the middle of this rollicking ocean,
Mm-hmm.
says, did we get everyone off the ship? If you didn't make it,
Raise your
speak
hand.
now.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
oh,
It was
great.
good.
So now we're all here.
Right.
Hilarious.
Truly an amazing act of leadership.
And in the background, we see the St. Anne tip over and start going down.
Yeah. Fully just upside down.
That's it.
And and we're left with this image of both groups passed out in this sinking ship.
Mm-hmm. And then
But you know what?
we have to wait and see what happens.
You know what?
What?
Next week's episode,
Yes.
it's all going to be up to Misty. She's the only one with water
She's a
Pokemon.
water trainer.
She can totally save them.
Yes, she could possibly. We haven't seen that yet, so
No, but this will be
this is possible.
finally, it's her turn. She never gets to use any of her Pokemon.
Well, don't give anything away. You're guessing.
I know. I am guessing. I have no idea.
Is this what we're doing now? Prognosticating?
I'm just saying this is a two-parter.
Yes.
So I feel like I have a little bit of...
Okay.
I feel like I'm allowed to guess.
Okay, I'll let you guess.
What do
I-
you think's going to happen?
I don't
and the
know.
Magikarp.
Well, you could. I'm not going to guess because I should
Do
know
you
this
know?
because I actually was in the episode. So I can't
Do
say.
you remember anything?
Do you mean anything at all in my past? Because I'm not really sure.
That answer is the same.
Who am I again?
Right.
I wanted to also put in that we just had this huge Storm Isha come through.
Yes.
And then watching this episode kind of gave me nightmares because there's been a lot of storm damage.
Yeah, and the ferry going back and forth between Dublin, Ireland and England. Yeah. Some of those ships tipped over too.
While they were docked.
Yeah, not
yes.
En route, but
yes,
still.
But this happens in real life. So I will say at this moment, be careful out there.
Yeah, if you're on the 9-month cruise listening to this podcast,
goodness gracious,
you might want to skip this one. Just saying.
Now I know.
You might want to skip
over,
it.
I know what you're reading about on your phone.
All these people are doing little TikTok things about the 9-month cruise. And I didn't go looking for it. It just showed up.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay. You know what Ash would say?
Get a life.
Yeah.
Get a new life.
Yeah.
Get off the cruise, man.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't say that. He would. Well, I don't know what he would say.
After this episode, I think he would.
You know what he'd say? Go. Because the ship's going down. Get at the water.
I was transported.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, we've talked about be careful in storms.
Yes.
We've also have touched on, but not really talked about the fact that very often people can convince you to do things by talking quickly and saying things that are interesting, but wrong. And so you really have to think before you start buying crazy Magikarp and trading things.
Yeah.
Think for a minute.
That's a good point because Ash does his thinking afterwards. And so does James, actually. But you do have to, when in doubt, not all decisions, and most of them shouldn't be clear cut. You have to think about it.
Yes.
And even if you have an idea of where you're leaning, you always should take a few minutes to think about it.
Yeah.
Even like in a conversation or if you're having an argument or a discussion, taking a few minutes to stop and assess what the other person said before responding is always a good rule of thumb.
I think so. And we really see that in this episode.
Because you don't want to say something that you'll regret or do something that you'll regret. And luckily, at least for Ash, his trade could be reversed.
Trade backs.
Which made me nervous that he didn't check the Pokeball.
That's right. He gets the ball and goes, oh, Butterfree, you're back. And yet...
That magician, I don't trust him.
No, neither do I.
But I think he got off the ship. So I'm wondering if he'll come back next week.
Well, wow.
just saying. I don't trust him.
No, I know.
And I feel like he'll come back and go, I fooled you.
I got you.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, but I do think that that's important. And especially for me as a big people pleaser, Ash is conflicted because he says this guy really seemed to like trading, so I did it.
Right.
And you do have to think about yourself.
And be comfortable with your decisions and not pressured into things.
Yeah. So that's definitely a tough lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily we can learn it through Ash's mistakes.
That's right.
And not make our own.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with anything, but I did want to also add that I was looking at this article
about the
this
9-month cruise.
And no, but I can't wait to look more into this.
I know.
I'm speechless.
Sorry.
Okay. Reading maps actually makes you smarter. And so when you are on an adventure, it is now proven that it is always better to use the paper map rather than the sat nav or the GPS, because your brain looks at these things and takes it in a very different way. Mm-hmm. And there are actual benefits to using a real map.
I agree.
I just wanted to let you know that. And
thank you.
We have always used actual maps.
Yeah. It's so funny. You have a great way of predicting or like saying things that are so appropriate to the moment, because we were driving today and I was thinking about that because we used to, when we would drive in other countries or other places, we would always get the real map and, look at it, use it as we were going, and I would navigate, my mom would drive, and we would definitely get there. And with usually no problems. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking today, recently, when we've been like on these 2 trips in London and Dublin, I've had a really hard time seeing the street signs.
Yeah.
Like the name of each street. And so I was thinking, gosh, it's so great to have the sat nav because I can see on the map when we're supposed to turn. So I can tell you, okay, turn here. Because I couldn't see any of the street names, especially in the city center.
Neither could I.
So I just was thinking like, gosh, that would be really hard if we had our physical map.
The other thing, though, is when you're using a computerized map, you aren't taking in the landmarks in the same way.
Right.
And we might see things differently if we were looking on the actual map.
Yeah.
Just differently.
Well, even when I studied abroad in Florence for that month, in college, I used a real map and I spent like 2 days, mainly because I couldn't sleep. So I decided to tire myself out by walking everywhere. But I used a real map. And, by a week in, I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
I didn't have to use the map
Right.
because I had studied it. And so I had that, not necessarily floor plan, but I had the city plan in my mind. And luckily, Florence is not that big. But I do think it helps, for you to visualize things.
Right. And also, we've gone back to places where we've used a map and known where we were.
Yeah.
But we moved to Los Angeles and I still can't find places without the GPS.
I know. It's very embarrassing.
So, okay, go paper for this. That is the main thing I need to pass along.
Get a map and
get adventuring.
Using it. Yes, definitely. Even in your own neighborhood, that could be the best because you might find some cool hidden spots that you never would have gone to.
And I just bought this really cool, very small magnifying glass at Covent Garden. They have an antiques, I guess, in the stalls there every Monday. And I got this amazing tiny magnifying glass. So you could really zero in on your map and find some amazing things.
She's been looking at everything through this tiny magnifying glass. It's hilarious.
So
and it does really magnify.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It makes everything better.
Hilarious.
Just don't get it in the sun because it will burn a hole in your map.
Or an ant. That might be
Let's
on
not
your
talk
map.
about this. Not ants, not burning ants. Anyway, guard your magnifying glass and guard your map.
Yeah.
But get out there and use it.
Definitely.
I think this is a good time for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
And this week, we're trying something a little different.
I took my tiny microphone and went around MegaCon Live in Dublin and interviewed random people, asking them what their favorite Pokemon memories were. So here are a few of this week's.
Hi, my name is Jack. I'm from Navan, County Meath, and my favorite Pokemon memory was loading up Pokemon Heart Gold for the first time on the DS.
Hi, I'm Ian from Dublin.
And I'm Rebecca from Dublin.
And I just wanted to say what I love about Ash is growing up, just when I'm feeling low, I always go back to some episodes like when Snow White out, when he's trapped into the ice and he's surrounded by Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirrel, Pikachu and Pidgeotto, and then he gets out in the end. I also watched the one where Charmander evolves into Charmeleon, Charmeleon evolves into Charizard, and then also when he has to release Charizard as well. That was always a massive impact to me. And also in the Hoenn League when he faced against Harrison, and also the Pokemon movie when Ash turns to stone. And I always just go back to it because I always know it's always good. It's always a happy ending at the end.
Yeah, and for me, what I always love is that as growing up, we got to grow up with Ash and his journey. So whenever it was a hard time, you got to see what Ash was able to accomplish, and that way you were able to accomplish with him. And I thought that was beautiful.
Hi, my name is Martin. I'm from Ireland, and my favourite Pokemon memory is waking up on Christmas Day before everyone else, running downstairs, opening all my presents, and finding that I have a Nintendo DS and Pokemon Diamond, and speedrunning through the first 2 gyms before anyone else woke up.
A very special thanks to Jack, Ian, Rebecca, and Martin for sharing your stories with us today. And we want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And try to keep it short, maybe 30 seconds or so. We don't want to have to edit.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from.
Well, that about wraps up today's episode of The Trainer's Guide. And as they say, To be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is the Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
The amazing Adrian Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.